All right. Welcome back to Black Bear News, home of the Death Star mic. Hope you all are doing better or well. Maybe I'll be doing better. I don't know. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. All right. Got some people watching. Someone inquired on Telegram where to watch the show since it wasn't on Rockfin anymore. So the update is you can watch on YouTube, X, and Telegram. So you can go over to the Telegram chat. The link is in the description box. You can go over there and watch the show. Hit the voice. There's like a little voice call button. It's right at the top. You can't miss it. It's like it says active voice call. Just jump in there, open the window up, and you can watch the show. Very, very simple. All right. Also, what else? Oh, tomorrow, probably no show tomorrow, guys. Sorry. I have something going on, but I will be back on Thursday and probably Friday, July 4th. I know it's kind of a weird day to do a show, but I'll probably do a show on Friday. Most likely. All right, people watching on X, what's up? What's up? I see you. Thanks for being here on X. Kamashwari Kate. I dig the I like the icon, whatever you want to call that. Your profile photo. It's pretty cool. I dig it. All right, well, let's get into it because time is a wasting and we have a lot to cover. Oh, you can see the whole mic right now. Huh? If I just sit in just the right space. Oh, avatar. That's what people call it. A tantric symbol. That's what I was going to say. It looks like a mandala. It's cool. I'll take it. I'm trying to get my whole microphone back. There we go. If I just do this, if I do this, if I do this, somewhere in here I can get my whole mic to show up. Nope, I cannot. Something like this. Maybe if I have it in front of my body. It is a mandala. I was right. It doesn't just look like a mandala. It is a mandala. Sweat. All right. Let's geez. Things are just off the rails these days. If you're having that feeling, well, join the club. It's generally off the rails. But we're here to get you back on the rails. This is, I don't know if this is true. And I really, really despise, and I'm sorry if, anybody who is into this kind of thing is listening. I'm not trying to offend people. I'm just talking about my own personal. I despise the whole trend of like having a video where the AI is telling you about something. The AI voice is telling. I'm not a fan. Let me tell you, I'm not a fan. Could you just read it in a human voice? It's okay. Whatever it is that you have to say, or if the AI tells you something, just print it out, put it up on your screen, type it out. Just say it in a regular human voice. But I don't know. It's like cool, and it's what all the kids are doing these days. Oh, yeah. I've watched Collapse several times, Delene. It's a good documentary. I think I've watched it, 2 or 3 times. There are no rails, says Poppy. Anyways, so I'm about to play you, some AI voice video, but let me tell you, I just am not a fan. I'm not a fan. And I know it's like the hip thing to do. Whatever. Whatevs.
Hey, Anthony, do you think this big, beautiful bill is going to pass?
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
Well,
hold on. It's not AI voice. It's somebody asking their brother. Scratch that. I thought this was an AI voice video for some reason. Sorry. No, it's just two people talking, apparently. Here we
Hey,
go.
Anthony,
Yeah.
do you think this big, beautiful bill is going to pass?
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
Well, the procedural vote that happened in the Senate yesterday is a pretty good indication of what the final voting lines are going to be. And despite the theatrics of a few Republican senators like Collins and Murkowski, who just like to pretend like they're going to vote against their party, I don't think that there's any real opposition from this in the Republican Senate. They've all made their bet a long time ago and voted consistently along party lines for the last several administrations. I don't think that's going to change now.
What are the implications if it does get passed?
Well, like any budget bill, it's pretty complex and there's a lot of moving parts to it. It's my understanding there's basically two big parts that are going to be affecting, the average American. One is that
Can you guys hear this? It sounds kind of muffled, the sound of this. I'm hoping that you're understanding it because it's just coming out as like out of my speakers.
bill is continuing and making permanent the 2017 era Trump tax cuts, and the other is cuts to Medicaid. So basically what it boils down to is that low-income households, so those making less than $30,000 a year, are going to be receiving some token benefits that I think the Trump administration is hoping will distract them from the major downsides. Those benefits are a few $100s a year in tax savings in the form of a minor increase to the standard deduction, as well as a removal of taxation on some things like tips and certain overtime pay, which I suspect will be taken away at a later date in future budget bills if Republicans are still in power at the time. So, overall savings of a couple $100s a year. On the downside, though, is huge cuts to Medicaid, which the Congressional Budget Office estimates can have an impact of anywhere from $4,000 to $20,000 a year in lost benefits to those same low-income households. And when you combine that with other things that have been taken away by the Trump administration through executive orders and other measures, for example, cuts to the Department of Education and regulatory bodies, are going to have these huge impacts on low-income households that far outweigh any benefit that those households are going to see. On the contrast, when you look at high-income households, and especially those in the top 5 and 1% of the population, what we see instead is tremendous tax cuts that will be saving them tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, if not millions, in the very high range, with very little comparative downside. So what this budget bill is just a way to shift wealth from an already impoverished population to the ultra wealthy, which is, standard MO for the Republicans at this point.
All right. Well, it's kind of a long video to start with. But he's just pointing out some of the things that are happening with the big beautiful bill. Salt Lakers, I'm assuming you mean that's what the 12-day war was about. Was what, getting the bill passed? Or getting people to not pay attention? I don't know. So it said something about ICE budget being expanded, but I'm not sure if that was the correct number. This seems to be closer. I've seen different numbers, but somewhere in the range. I don't think we're talking enough about how this big, dumb, ugly bill expands ICE by a factor of 20. From 2.2 billion, I've seen 4 billion, to 45 billion, I've seen 40 billion. And in that last video said something about it being 160 billion. I don't know what the exact number is. So anyways, it's going up a lot. That's 20 times more agents, 20 times more arrests, plus illegal detention centers. Trump is using the bill to create his own paramilitary Gestapo. He goes on to say, if you think ICE will stop at targeting undocumented people and not become a force to suppress political dissent, you are high AF. Yeah, that's a problem. And more on this train wreck of a bill. Breaking news, and one of the most shameful moments in American history, Vice President J.D. Vance just cast his tie-breaking vote in the Senate after a 50-50 vote to pass the big bullshit bill, which will increase the debt by an estimated $4 trillion, which is what Elon Musk is running around, screaming about as if he cares. He is doing a really good psyop right now. Elon Musk. Pocket boy of Netanyahu, pocket boy of the military industrial complex, is running around acting like he cares, which is hilarious and scary at the same time. This bill will increase annual mortgage interest by an average of $1,000, give an average tax cut of nearly $390,000 for those with incomes exceeding $4,325,000, cut more than $900 billion from Medicaid, strip 16 million Americans of their health care, increase annual small business loan interest by an average of $860, cause the closure of 300 rural hospitals, cause the closure of 500 nursing homes, and food assistance for 2.9 million Americans, will end clean energy tax credits. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But that is part of what last thing I'll read here is raise energy bills by up to $400 per year per family and 10% for businesses, and put nearly 400,000 jobs at risk. The cutting of the clean energy credits and projects is one of the things that's going to cost a lot of jobs, and it's also a thing that's going to I know from a standpoint of what's going to stop destroying the planet, it's not really it's not really clean. I get it, all that stuff, but if we're talking about being leaders in technology or keeping up with the Joneses or being setting a precedent for moving into the future, we're actually going in the other direction. Extra bullet. We're going to get to that. They're just going to straight up kidnap you or kidnap whoever they want at some point. Yep, it's getting there. It is going in that direction. And I have to just reiterate that this has been a plan. All of the tech bros who are behind, at one point were all behind the Democrats. So if you think that voting for Kamala was going to change anything, no, it wasn't going to change anything. And they weren't trying to win anyways. They were trying to make sure that Trump won. I just want to say that because it would not have saved you. The people that are behind Trump that are making all of this happen were all behind the Democrats at one point. They have all funded both sides. Both sides work for the same end goal, the end goal being fascism and the destruction of the poors. Saltlicker says it's not finished yet. I believe to the U.S. wasn't even a good experiment. Okay. So yeah, it's a lot of bad. It's a lot of big breaking bad.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed. On this vote, the yeas are 50.
Here's Elon just really hamming it up out here. I suppose people believe this. I suppose there's people out here that believe this, but this is just a joke. Elon Musk saying, if the insane spending bill passes, the American Party will be formed the next day. Our country needs an alternative to the Democrat-Republican uniparty. He's speaking your language, guys. He's speaking hipster conspiracy theorist slang. That's what Elon's doing. Our country needs an alternative to the Democratic-Republican uniparty so that the people actually have a voice. I mean, oh my God, the levels of messed up this is. I don't know. Yeah, I hope that people are not buying this. I don't know what this is supposed to do. I'm not really sure. Like this whole like Trump is wrong and the Republicans have gone against their mandate from the people. I don't know what this is supposed to do. I'm not sure. I hope people are not buying this. I mean, what he's saying is correct, but like the fact that he's saying it makes it like several levels of messed up. On the subject of the future and living in the past, which obviously the whole Trump agenda just seems to be about living in the past. Especially if the past was 1940, 1940s Nazi Germany. The comparison in the New York Times today is pretty stark. China is racing ahead to be a high-tech exporter of 21st century technologies, while the U.S. is doubling down on being a petrostate, exporting the technologies of the 19th century. Which is true. So the gray is the United States. They're banging out a lot of crude oil to Europe, Asia, and the Americas. China, not so much. Natural gas, United States banging out a lot to Europe, Asia, Africa. Coal, United States exporting quite a bit. And comparatively, compared to China, China is exporting lithium-ion batteries, solar panels and modules, and electric cars, while the United States is far behind in almost everything but electric cars, pretty far behind in electric cars. Correct. Nobody. That's why it's really hard to talk about this particular subject without, you know, if you have a different kind of overview of the whole thing. Then none of this really matters on some level. On, you know, there's a level at which this is all of it is folly, but whatever. We're talking about it in the very narrow band of progress as most humans understand it in a, you know, 21st century capitalist techno futurist kind of way. I don't know. You got fresh eggs, Poppy? Nice, nice, nice. China has done away with nuclear. Have they? I didn't know that. That's kind of great if they have. Maybe they understand. I thought that they were doing fusion reactors, though. Have they done away with their nuclear program as far as energy? I mean, I see here a YouTube of from May 15th, 2025 of a China nuclear reactor being online for 1,000 days. I don't know. Might have to research that later. Okay. Let's keep going. In Florida, people are being shut out of their Section 8. Yeah. In Florida, in Miami-Dade, due to a $45 million shortfall, families, low-income families, the elderly and disabled are now frozen out of getting their federal rental assistance. Meanwhile, the government gives away $46 million in taxpayer money to FIFA World Cup welfare. A lot of people rely on that Section 8 assistance in order to keep paying their rent. Things are going very badly in the US of A. Very badly. The waste. This man sums it up nicely, or at least this meme does. Why the F are average Americans paying federal taxes if none of our tax money is going to be used to improve our lives? I don't know about you, but I don't work hard to give handouts to billionaires. If the GOP is going to cut all the programs we pay for, why should we pay? That is a really good point. Which, I've been parroting this idea for a long time. And people have said it for a long time. If you're going to pay taxes, like at least get something for the taxes that you pay. But they've done a really good job of like wamboozling people about what, the economy is supposed to look like or mean. They've been doing it since Reagan, telling you that people that get welfare or, people that get stuff from the government are lazy and just, trying to get one over and trying to take advantage and taking advantage of the people that work hard and pay their taxes. So over the decades, they have cut all the programs that help people, not only just programs, they've cut infrastructure, renewal projects and funding for schools and funding for, I read in that one of the previous posts, funding for, rural hospitals and just basic medical care for people. All those things have slowly gone away. while every president, Democrat or Republican, seems to promise tax cuts. A lot of those tax cuts go to the rich. The trickle-down economic theory has been strong since Ronald Reagan and hasn't really let up, even under Democratic leadership. They have done, as Obama once famously said, his policies were not unlike that of a moderate Republican, say Ronald Reagan. So he carried Clinton and the Blue Dog Democrats and Obama and certainly Biden carried forward basically a Republican, at least financial, financial tack, and pretty much everything else. Pretty much everything else they've done was basically Republican. So again, it doesn't matter if you voted for Kamala. If you were paying attention, it doesn't matter if you voted for Kamala or Biden or Obama or Clinton or any of those fools. You were getting Republican policies anyway. So fun. So much fun. Why can China do all this stuff? Because they're not catering to the lowest common denominator of capitalism. It's not about immediate shareholder satisfaction. It's not about short-term profits. Short-term profits in front of long-term gains, right? Cost, penny pinching and cost cutting in the immediate, and not caring about the long-term, long-term implications of all of that. Trying to win votes every 4 years instead of, planning for the future 5, 10, 15, 20 years out. So China is able to do that because they kind of have a hybrid communist capitalist country, and they can do things that cost money. They don't have to appeal to voters or shareholders or whatever it is. They don't have to appeal to a short-term profit motive. Or election sloganeering or whatever it is. And I'm not saying that their system is better. I'm just saying that's why they can do that. They can earmark billions of dollars for high-speed rail and infrastructure projects and solar power generation and whatever. I don't even really like all of these things that I'm speaking of. I'm just saying, if you're talking about progress or the future, they're able to go forward. We are stuck where we are. Nobody says they plan for this stage. Sure. Yeah. And they also do things like plan 5, 10, 15, 20 years out. James Lee. Okay. This is very frightening. And this is dovetailing with the what is it, factor of I want to say it's a factor of 10. They said what, factor of 10 or 20 increase in ICE budget. This should scare the pants off of everybody. Per the new DOJ memo, this is from James Lee, you can now be denaturalized. What does that mean? That means you can have your citizenship stripped. And it doesn't matter whether you are foreign born, homegrown. It doesn't matter who you are. Anybody. You can be denaturalized and deported for criticizing Israel, being critical of war with Iran, or sharing information the Trump administration deems to be against U.S. national security interests. Never mind that this memo is against national security interests or the Constitution or human. Well, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Cases against individuals who pose a potential danger to national security, including those with a nexus to terrorism, espionage, or the unlawful export from the United States of sensitive goods, technology, or information raising national security concerns. Basically anything that they find threatening. Could be a reason for denaturalization. Do you all agree with this? I would say most Americans probably don't agree with this. I'd say that people, most people with at least a second grade education would not agree with this, which would make it pretty much everyone. I'm betting the people that are not affected by that still don't agree with it. I bet the people that are even doing it don't agree with it. Here's more from James Lee. For those who support deporting Zoran Mamdani, this is the new mayor of New York. I guess people are saying that he should be deported for his views on Palestine. I find it wild. People voted for the mayor of New York, the current mayor of New York, and somebody's talking about the idea of possibly deporting him. It's insane. Anyways, for those that support deporting Zoran Mamdani because he is a national security threat, I think now is a good time to remind you that in all likelihood, there will come a day that you too will be deemed a national security threat by our government. Just watching this show, right? Just doing this show. Like all of us could fall under this umbrella of whatever this means. Anyways, let's do this.
Holy, they're actually trying to deport this guy. And when I mean they, I mean both parties, Republicans and Democrats. Okay, so Trump's Justice Department, according to The Guardian, has just issued a directive to strip naturalized Americans of citizenship for criminal offenses. So I looked up that memo, that directive, and here's what they mean by criminal offense. Quote, individuals who pose a potential danger to national security, including those with a nexus to terrorism, espionage, or the unlawful export from the United States of sensitive goods, technologies, or information raising national security concerns. Now, that on its face sounds reasonable, right? If you're trying to hurt America, maybe you shouldn't be an American. But guess what Congress and the House Homeland Subcommittee deems to be a threat to U.S. national security? Yes, you're reading this right. Being anti-Israel is now deemed anti-American. Now, this next part is where the Democrats come in.
What specifically has Mamdani said that you think is anti-Semitic?
Pro-Hamas. There's several videos, even during his days of being a rap artist, of praising Hamas and other terrorist groups. And so a little research, you'll be able to find it.
Now, I couldn't find anything, just FYI on that point, but it is definitely not a coincidence that one side introduces a memo saying that you could be denaturalized for national security reasons. And then the other side comes out the next day and says, oh, by the way, this dude right here is a national security threat. In fact, there's legislation right now in Congress calling for his deportation.
What?
Now, I do expect some legal challenges because this, to me, clearly violates the First Amendment of the Constitution. There is a Supreme Court case back from 1943 called Schneiderman versus the United States, whereby the court rejected the federal government's attempt to denaturalize a man named William Schneiderman, a, quote, self-avowed communist. The court held that, quote, clear, unequivocal, and convincing proof was required to revoke citizenship, and they determined that there was insufficient evidence that Schneiderman was not, quote, attached to the principles of the Constitution as required by federal law. You see, it really shouldn't matter whether you like Zohran Mamdani or not, or whether you like his policies or his ideologies or whatever. Point is, if you don't fight right now for the rights of people you disagree with, I guarantee you there will come a day when it is in fact you who is being silenced by the government.
And we've had examples of that. Well, yeah, let's go back to the national security threat. I mean, that's very vague, very loose. It's whatever they want it to be. Whoever they point a finger at, that guy, we don't like that guy. He's a national security threat. Go, it's like the T word. You just point your finger and call somebody the T word, and people are like, oh my God, what? So very concerning, and it could cut, it can apply to almost anyone for almost anything. It's bizarre and frightening, honestly. So yes, Poppy, like the war on tea, the war on tea, the Tea Party. Oh my God, show's going by so quickly. How many things can we cover today? I don't know if I'm going to play this right now. This is weird. This is leaked footage of a Border Patrol chief versus Border Patrol agents. I guess the Border Patrol chief is trying to get the agents to take an oath, and they are giving him the business. And this is an interesting exchange. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this well. Here we go.
We stay focused. We continue to do the job and the mission that we signed up for. Right? We all signed up for it. We all raised our hand.
To defend the Constitution, not the
It's not hard to say it. It may be hard.
Okay, he's not trying to get them to take an oath. I'm sorry. He's just trying to get them to do what they are supposed to do. And I guess some of them are having issues with what they're being directed to do, which they should if what they're being directed to do is unconstitutional and illegal. Here we go.
But I've been doing this for 31 years. It's not hard for me to say it. Every day I wake up and I'm committed to this organization, and I'm committed to each one of you.
You keep releasing criminal aliens in the country.
You're getting bogged down in the policies and the
You can't
politics.
say illegal alien.
What's that?
That's why Chief Scott left.
You just said it.
You can't
Is
say
anything going to happen to you? You just said it.
The whole generation.
Yeah, so he's saying, hey, we're supposed to be deporting and rounding up illegal aliens, but we're rounding up people that are fourth generation, third generation, which are citizens of the United States.
Why are you guys getting caught up in semantics?
Why are you guys getting caught up in semantics? Okay.
There's a mission out there to be. There's a mission out there to be. We just sit here and argue about it till we're
Right, Comptroller Kate. I was just following orders, but the orders are illegal, and they have an issue. This is where the thing starts to break down, though. This is where it breaks down, because if the officers aren't supportive of the orders, if your military men are not supportive of the orders, if they understand the illegality of what they're doing, then your authority starts to break down.
right. I've been doing this job as long as y'all.
That's the problem.
What's that?
That's the problem, Chief. For evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. That's
I can't hear
what's happening. For evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. That's exactly what's happening here. good men are doing nothing. You're allowing illegal aliens to be dropped off in communities.
You are doing something.
No, sir, we're not.
You are. You're rescuing people every day. You're taking fentanyl off the streets every day. You're taking methamphetamine
Yes, and under this
criminal
administration,
aliens
for the
off the
last
streets
year, we
every
got the
day.
highest fentanyl death in the history of our country. In 1 year, in this country.
You know, we've made more fentanyl seizures already this year than we made last year.
How many have we not catch because we're focusing on this? And that's the problem.
And we're working on it.
Where's the results? We don't have results.
All right. Well, that's an interesting video. Alligator Alley. Remember we talked about, or the Alligator Alcatraz? Sorry, not Alligator Alley. Alligator Alcatraz. A new detention center being built in Florida is already complete and operational. It's going to be complete by Tuesday and open for operation on Wednesday. I believe that's tomorrow. Am I the only one that's wondering how Ron DeSantis got this together so fast? Floridians, make sure you remember this the next time a hurricane hits and you can't get disaster relief in your state.
All day, we have seen a steady stream of cement trucks and fencing line up into this site, really reflecting the breakneck speed by which the state is trying to put this together. The governor says this is going to be ready on Tuesday. He argues that this is a crucial effort to partner state and local resources with the federal government to accomplish President Trump's ambitious deportation goals, saying they simply don't have enough capacity to detain everybody that they want to deport. But here people are clearly concerned. Hundreds of protesters lining the street for, I'd say, about a quarter mile in each direction, saying that this is going to disrupt the very fragile ecology here in the Everglades. At the center of this argument is the native people here, who really reject this premise that this is some barren wasteland filled with alligators and pythons. The native people, part of the tribes that live here, have said that this is our sacred ancestral homeland with a delicate ecological
You think they care about that noise? No.
balance that could be disrupted with all of these trucks coming in, trying to truck thousands of people into this area. So
They don't give an F and never have. I mean, yeah, you got to let them know, but they're just going to let you know they don't care.
as this all plays out in the court, only 3 days left to go until the governor says this is going to be operational.
Yikes. Oh, my God. All right, guys. If you like the show coming to you for free 99 Monday through Friday, and you want to support the show, that would be a really great thing to do, as the show depends on your support in order to keep on going. There are lots of ways to support in the description box, or the link tree on X, or the link tree on Telegram. All the usual ways are there: Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Zelle, Buy Me a Coffee, Ko-Fi, Patreon, and Substack. Max Blumenthal tears the mask off the post-World War II order. The ICC warrant against Netanyahu is a dead letter, violated with impunity, right, et cetera, et cetera. Let's let him tell it.
I mean, the ICJ keeps delaying and delaying. Its new Chief Justice, Julia Sebutinde, is a Christian Zionist from Uganda, from a Christian Zionist church, who has plagiarized from Zionist propaganda outlets in her own decisions. It's a farce. The ICC warrant on Netanyahu has been violated again and again as Netanyahu flies over European airspace, flies over countries that have signed on to the Rome Statute, and even enters those countries' physical territory. So international institutions have completely failed on what I consider, and what billions of people around the world consider to be the Holocaust of our time. The post-World War II order has completely collapsed against the backdrop of the Gaza genocide. So of course, there's very little hope there. And what that leaves is,
can you guys hear
the only kind of pressure.
Can everybody hear this? Oh, buffering. Okay. Can you guys hear this? Poppy housing. I'm actually moving into some temporary housing tomorrow, Poppy, but again, it's temporary. So yeah, housing is still a little weird, but making it through. All right, I'm going to continue with this. Sandy is dealing with some health issues. Everybody go watch Sandy tonight at 9 Eastern. Environmental Coffee House. All right.
That can be applied is force, is military force. And so it leaves open the door for more warfare, which benefits Netanyahu in the near term. But as I said, it's contributing to the political demise of Israel. It benefits Netanyahu. A regional war benefits Netanyahu, helps hold on to his coalition, helps keep the parts of the Israeli public unified. But stepping back and going back to your original question, Netanyahu before October 7th tried to skirt the divide between two camps in the Zionist realm. One was comes out of labor Zionism. They believe in hard separation with the Palestinians, sort of permanently warehousing them behind walls and cutting deals with a Vichy type Quisling authority like the Palestinian Authority. And Netanyahu had always advocated kind of an economic peace without recognizing Palestinian state, or what Yitzhak Rabin, the author of the Oslo Accords, called a state that is less than a state. Netanyahu would always try to kick the can down the road, and it was working, but he was relying on Qatar to keep the warehouse going at some level by sending money in, paying for fuel. And then October 7th happened, and it made it impossible for Netanyahu to skirt the divide between the labor camp and the ethnic cleansing Kahanist camp, which advocates just doing away with the Palestinian problem, recognizing that Israel cannot be Jewish and democratic, it has to be Jewish first. And Netanyahu has had to side with the latter faction. And that's why he's calling for this expulsion plan. He's advancing this expulsion plan, which I think will ultimately fail.
Okay. So Max just describing some of the internal issues going on with the Netanyahu regime, and they are digging themselves a hole. It's Happy Canada Day, eh? All right. Oh, Canada. This is interesting. Xfinity just launched Wi-Fi motion. I've talked about this, and I told you all, I've told many people about this, that they can detect where you are in your room. They know how many people are in your house, all through Wi-Fi. They can actually get vital signs from you through Wi-Fi. And now they're letting everybody know that they can do this, which is, I guess, really nice of them. Xfinity just launched Wi-Fi Motion, a new feature that tracks movement inside your home using nothing but Wi-Fi signals. No cameras, no sensors. Just your internet bouncing waves off your body to see where you are, and it's automatically included. All right, your router just became a motion detector. Oh no. Welcome to the next phase of surveillance, and they're calling it convenience. Yeah, so I guess they're just getting ahead of this. Like, people already know about the ability for them to do this, and they're trying to get out in front of it. But they can do a lot of things through Wi-Fi. One of which is get your vital signs. And that is really scary, right? Like you don't really need wearables or implantables for them to know what's going on with you, right? Like if they can detect things through Wi-Fi, like your heart rate or your temperature, whatever, like you don't really need something to be on your body. Frightening. Life hacks for 2025. If they promise safety, it's about control. If Palantir is involved, you're the product. If Peter Thiel is funding it, it's CIA connected. If they say it's for security, it's for surveillance. If you question any of it, you're already on a list. It's a really good question, Salt Lakers. Why couldn't they use the same technology to reduce the population? Yeah, why not? I'm sure they can. Let's see. Go to this from 7 Seas. There's a couple things I wanted to cover today, but we're not going to get to. Something is happening with the Fed. They're doing everything they can to replace it or otherwise render it obsolete. This seems like a good thing because the Federal Reserve is terrible. That's how they get you to root for something worse every time. Kind of like Elon Musk telling you that we need an America party, right? Or what if Elon Musk was president? He knows what to do. He can save us. You think that'll be better? Kamashwari Kate, no coffee and I become homicidal. Well, too much coffee, I'm homicidal. Not enough, I'm homicidal. Does that mean I have a problem? No. Anyways, they'll get you to root for something worse every time. They'll replace it with something worse. Breaking American Express issued a notice to clients regarding delays in cross-border payments and wire transfers, citing a Federal Reserve System update and a wide system upgrade. Okay. Let's see. You understand my predicament? And here is Palantir CEO saying that he'd like to spray his adversaries or people that have critical, people who are critical of him. He'd like to spray them with fentanyl-laced urine. This guy. This is the level of thinking that the Palantir founder and CEO Alex Karp, this is where his mind is at. And that the host that he's talking to is embarrassed AF for him. He's like scratching his head and he looks really uncomfortable. And he's like, dude, do you hear what you're saying?
You need a higher purpose. And I also think you often need a lower purpose. Like the higher purpose for me.
What's a lower purpose?
Well, I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us. So that's my lower purpose. And
What?
yeah, and others. But the higher purpose for me was to get this nation to be the preeminent power in the world, because whatever faults we have, they're nothing like anyone else's. You need a higher purpose, and I also think you often need a lower purpose. Like
You see this guy's body language though, the other guy? He's like, bro. How could he be? I don't know. Isn't he like super wealthy? Doesn't he like control the world? Isn't he like one of the top dogs of the Dr. Evils? The consortium of Dr. Evils? Isn't he one of at the table there? I know. Piece of pocket, indeed. He is a freaking South. I mean, you saw the other video with him saying like, sometimes you just got to go out and kill these people, these bad people, the enemies, the people we don't like, the people we're targeting with our super high-end technology, right? You got to track them, you got to trace them, and sometimes you got to kill them. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know, guys. It's all Biden's fault. It's not. Biden is a witting or unwitting participant in all of this. Somewhere along the lines, he helped grease all the wheels for this stuff. If you remember, the Biden was, one of the most right-wing Democratic senators out there. And there's a very famous clip of him saying, we've got to cut everything. Everything has to be cut. Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, all of it, man. American people aren't stupid. You know that clip. Biden is an absolute demon. Right along with Trump. Trump's a pretty big demon. They're all in the big club that we're not in. Yeesh. Darn it, it's time to make our own club. Come on, guys, let's make our whole freedom and liberty club. We'll get together and have meetings and I don't know, in a jam or something. We'll have a poetry jam. Club chemo. Anyways, you'd vote for the Death Star Mike party? Yes. Yes. The Death Star gives us life. All right, guys. Deline says it's hard for me to understand that people think the president has control. Yep. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anybody to thank. Nobody at the moment. All right, guys. That about does it for me. I will see you on Thursday at the regular time, as far as I know. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I do appreciate you. Everybody on X, everybody on Telegram. I'll see you all on Thursday at the regular time, and then we will reconvene and figure out what the heck is going on. All right, friends and neighbors. Appreciate you. And